If you are not sending signals that you're open, that you're marketing yourself, then love will pass you by. Opportunities will pass you by. People are not born with charisma, which is interesting to me. I've taught an 85-year-old woman to pick up a man at a bar. I kid you not, after doing a makeover, all the way down to people in their 20s trying to learn social skills because they're on their phones all day long. You behave as though you are attracted to someone without the serious intention of an outcome. Flirtiness, charisma, it's all about just being playful and having fun and being in the moment, not worrying about what's happening next. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, when you wear something, and there's a lot of research on this, when you wear something that makes you feel good, you carry yourself a different way. You just do. Everybody, no matter what age group you're at, everybody should want to look youthful and feel youthful as well.
I brought on Kimmy Seltzer. She is a confidence therapist. She's an authentic dating strategist and an image expert. If you've ever wondered, do I really have the swagger that it takes to meet the people that I want to meet in my life and to make the love of my life manifest? Well, she's going to show you how today. Welcome to Unreasonable Health. And today you're going to be really enlightened because you're going to look in the mirror and have some solutions that you've never had before, because I brought on Kimmy Seltzer, and she is a confidence therapist. She's an authentic dating strategist and an image expert. So if you've ever not liked your outfit, if you've ever wondered, do I really have the swagger that it takes to meet the people that I want to meet in my life and to make the love of my life manifest? Well, she's going to show you how today, and she's got a free gift. So wait till the end, and you're going to have access to this really unique opportunity. But she's got a vast knowledge and experience as a therapist. She's a certified style coach. She's a dating coach, a matchmaker. She's a phenomenal human. I've had the chance of spending quite a bit of time with her at different events, and I'm so excited to have her on. But she's going to help you find lasting love and connection, attract success, build valuable relationships using her unique confidence makeover process. She also uses an outside-in approach, which is where I work on the inside out, and we're like, Kimmy, this is going to be beautiful. So and one thing we're going to talk about too is her signature formula called the charisma quotient, and not to be confused with emotional quotient or intellectual quotient, but this is her own unique process of the charisma quotient, working on body language, first impressions, your image, wardrobe, flirting, how it impacts attraction. She's a Los Angeles-based expert who travels the country, helping people discover their own confidence and charisma. And then she's been a speaker on TEDx, national matchmaking conferences, eHarmony, Neutrogena, and the Guild at Universal and UCLA, and media appearances in the Tamara Hall Show, ABC News, Fox News, NBC News, and the Inside Edition. She's also a regular contributor to the Huffington Post, with appearances in Cosmopolitan, Oprah Winfrey, Red Book, Reader's Digest, Ask Men, Fox News Magazine, Yahoo, and the Washington Examiner, and so many others. And so she is a leading love expert on the traveling live dating show, The Great Love Debate, the cable reality series, The Romance, and you can listen to her on her podcast, The Charisma Quotient, and the regular Ask Kimmy segments on Chaz and the AJ Morning Show, 99.1 PLR and 95.9 The Fox. So Kimmy, I'm so excited to have you on.
Oh, I always laugh when I hear my bio being played back, and again, I'm blessed to have these experiences, but honestly, the reason why I do what I do is coming from my own hot mess story, right? Like I always say, it's, my heroine journey, if you will. And honestly, that's what brings me passion about helping people, find love, find confidence, because I went through it. So anyway, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, and the interesting thing that you've done is you've just been able to dissect what it takes to actually show up as your best version socially. And there's not a lot of people who have that skill. And most people who do, you're like, well, you're you're 19 years old and giving all this advice, and what do you know? But there's a lot of people out there who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're like, I really want to learn how to have swagger. And so, how did you get into this? And like, why this field? Why aren't you focused on other directions?
Yeah, I'm so glad you're asking me about my hot mess story, as I call it. So, I'm a good girl from Chicago, as they say, and I lived a very traditional life. I mean, I practiced as a therapist for many, many years, and like you, I really believed in like the inside out approach, and I helped people in that kind of way, in the traditional sense, and everything was going on as planned in my life. I mean, I thought that this was going to be my career. And, I had the husband, the dog, the kids, the picket fence, like everything. And I still have the kids, by the way, but you see where the story's going. And so we one day just all picked up and we moved across the country. We plopped down here to La La Land. I'm in LA. And it was like immediately, as soon as we got here, that's when the record stopped. My traditional life as I knew it, poof, disappeared. And we ended up doing what all the other people here do. We get a divorce. I'm joking. I like to blame LA, but honestly, like I would have been here anyway. I think what happened is that, when you're removed from kind of your cushion, your insulated life,
Yeah.
it wasn't until we moved and I saw everything so clear that everything surfaced. And there I was all alone in this new town with no friends and not knowing what to do with my new life. And I had to take a hard look at what I was going to do, because if anyone had come to me at that moment in time as a therapist, I would have said, "You think you have issues? Let me go on the couch for a second," because I couldn't even help myself get out of the couch.
Oh.
So if you can imagine, I mean, there I was, and on top of it all, like I would not be wearing this red top if you're watching this. I was always dressed in black, and I had these ginormous clothes. I remember just feeling like this frumpy mom. But again, I just was working on myself. And here's the kicker. People would come to me. I don't know if you relate to this, because I know you help people as well in different ways. People would say, "Kimmy, are you going to go out and date?" And I would say, I'm just working on myself. So that's fine, right? Cut to 6 months later. "Kimmy, so when are you going to go out and date?" "Yeah, you know what? I'm really just working on myself." I mean, what was I doing? Rocking in a chair, listening to podcasts and reading books, And again, those are all great things. But honestly, I realized that was easier. The analysis paralysis was easier than actually taking action.
Wow.
And so that's what kind of, I didn't realize that at the time, but here's what changed my entire life and really developed my whole brand and how I help people today. Is one day I just woke up, and it literally, sometimes you wake up and you see things differently. And I looked in the mirror and I took a hard look. And I was horrified at what I had become. This frumpy mom with nursing bras on. I wasn't even nursing any longer. Flip-flops, disheveled hair. I said, "Whoa, my God, what happened to me?" And definitely wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating properly. You would not have been happy. And I just decided in that moment that I needed to do something different. And I did something very untraditional. I went shopping. Right? Shopping therapy. So I nothing fits. Everything in my wardrobe is black, maybe a splash of beige. I'm going shopping. So I go to the store and I think I'm up leveling myself. No, what am I doing? The same thing. I'm putting black clothes in my arms. Yet again, same pattern. And this personal shopper, I now refer her as my guardian angel. I talk about this actually in my TEDx talk. And it was like that moment that hit me. She came up to me. She says, "Ma'am, I've been watching you, and I really think you should try this on." And she holds up this red dress that's the color of my shirt. And I looked at her and I said, "That's so sweet of you, but that's not my color. And that's really not my size." And she says, "Honey, that is your size. That is your color. Try it on." just like that. You know, it's like
It's
she
random. Like
just
you're just shopping and she's like,
random.
do this.
It's like, when the teacher shows up and you're ready to hear it. And,
Mm.
it was like she hit me over the head with that red dress. I call it my red dress moment. And it's the moment that you stop numbing out. It's the moment that you wake up and you start taking action. And I said, you're right. So I grabbed the dress and I squeezed into it and I twirled around like Cinderella and I looked in the mirror yet again. And I was like, wow. Like I felt like a princess. It really was that like Cinderella moment. And it was so weird. There was this like visceral response that was going on in my body where I finally like it shook me and it's like this whole time I've been just hiding. And so I bought the red dress as a costume and I called it a costume. It kind of relates to what I help people nowadays is that I didn't believe it yet. Like there was that moment, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go out in the world. I'm going to wear this red dress and I'm just going to see what happens. And I kid you not, I wore that red dress everywhere. I went to the coffee shop in it. I went to the grocery store in it. And like all this stuff started happening to me. And the real thing that started happening that was my surprise is that men started noticing me.
Mm. And are you wearing heels? Shoe? I mean, what's the
You
what are
you
you
want the whole visual, right? Yeah. Oh
wearing?
yeah.
Yeah,
I was wearing heels. I had my costume on and
yep.
I just kind of like
Gucci
worked on my
bag, or did you go all out, or what? I mean, how
no, no, that would have been way too much at that point. I mean, the fact that I even had a red dress on was a lot. Right? Like, let's not go crazy. So,
the
I mean,
budget was already gone, is what you're
the
saying.
budget was gone.
Got it.
I already felt guilty, just investing in myself in that way. I'm a mom. I shouldn't be dressing like this, right? So I noticed these like men everywhere are opening doors. They're noticing me. And here was the second surprise that happened. I didn't like it. I was like,
Mm.
ah, I get it now. So the black clothes was really a black cloak to keep me invisible from you men because
Wow.
really I was scared. I was scared of being seen. I was scared of like having like a real interaction with a man because of all the like low confidence that I felt with the divorce, not feeling like, worthy of finding love again, like all these, gremlins that were in my head. Now, of course, I didn't realize that at the time, but now when I look back, wow, like that's exactly what that was. So I had to get used to being seen. That was crucial. And so, then I started embracing it and then I started loving it. Well, then I had another problem. I had to learn how to flirt and then actually engage and go on dates, right? So, like Dorothy in the Yellow Brick Road, I kept collecting like, little things in my toolbox and hoping that, something would happen. And I realized during my journey that there is definitely a symbiotic relationship between the outer and the inner, that it's not superficial, that how we market ourselves, how we portray ourselves to the world directly impacts our confidence, our charisma, and that's what creates opportunity. Because here's
Mm.
the thing, like you can be the best person, you can go to therapy, you can make all these internal changes, but if you are not sending signals that you're open, that you're marketing yourself, then love will pass you by. Opportunities will pass you by. It has to be both. And so that's where my business was born. Long-winded story to tell you, but I thought
Oh,
it was
that's
really important, given what we're talking about.
well. What's crazy about that is my wife just told me of a conversation she had with. I've got to make sure that I don't have permission to share who it is, but someone very close to her. And she was like, "Why do you always do your fingernails like?" Because she's like, "Look at my fingernails; they're red." And she always does them flesh color. I don't like, so she doesn't want to stand out. She's cut her hair. She's this gorgeous lady, but she doesn't want any kind of attention. And she's lived that way for 30 years. And she had, there's an incident where there's, a dude who got aggressive. And so she's like, I just need to mute my femininity. And
Mm.
that's how she's lived her life.
Yeah. And, it becomes almost a protective shell, for a lot of people because when something has happened to you, whether it's been abuse, whether it's been a bad relationship, you've gotten hurt, it's so scary to put yourself out there. It's a very vulnerable feeling, but that's why I love what I do because, again, I could sit down and do talking therapy all day long. And I know you see this with your clients as well. It's not until like a body shifts, they see themselves in the mirror, they start walking differently, they start getting asked out. Like it's the action piece that gives people the confidence along the way. But again, where to start can feel really daunting. And that's why I like to break it down into just actionable, kind of homework that people can do to slowly build that confidence and eventually find love.
Well, and you're somebody who had the skills of, all the internal avenues to go down and pursue. But until you actually take action, you really were just having intellectual stimulation by doing the work on yourself. And the real work is actually when you engage in conversations. But
Yeah.
beautiful thing about what you've done is you built the framework of here's how you start. And that's the hardest thing. And so what would be kind of like the first three steps somebody could take right now who is looking for a deeper relationship, or actually someone, even if they're in a relationship and they just want to up level their game as a, man or a woman?
Yeah, I think it first really comes from looking at what it is that you want. It's funny because I have a lot of, just, free calls just to talk about what people are going through and if they want to get coached. And I'd say 95% of people can't even really tell me what they want. Like they know that maybe, oh, yeah, like it'd be nice to be more confident, or it'd be nice to find love, and it'd be nice to date. But when I peel away the layers, a lot of times that's not really what people want. People just really want to, feel youthful, look in themselves in the mirror and, feel sexy and like maybe get dates, but maybe not a relationship right now. I think a lot of time, because I specialize in helping people find love in the second act, as I call it. So if you're over 40 and you're getting back out there, it could feel really daunting. And it's almost as if you're in a time warp, right? And because the last time you dated somebody maybe was in your 20s. And now you're out there in your 40s, 50s, 60s, thinking like a 20-year-old, but the world has changed, you're changed. And so there's this kind of integration of your goals. And a lot of people don't even have dating experience, period. They're more of a relationship person. So that's number one, is gaining clarity. And number two, and we can talk about my charisma quotient. That's why I like looking at like different areas and helping people first, kind of assessing what they're good at, where are the holes, where are the challenges, and it's kind of closing the gap to build the confidence overall. So I look at those three areas in the charisma quotient. And then it's creating a plan. So if it's a dating plan, I put people on like a business plan. Like we build out a calendar and we have you taking action, going out and meeting people and practicing flirting and practicing just, gaining a social circle so you feel more connected. I think to your point, whether you're single or married or coupled off, I think we're living in a very isolated world. That's why I'm doing a lot of retreats like you, just to build more community, more friendships, because that also helps with your social confidence as well.
And loneliness is such a big factor. And the studies, like especially after the great lockdown that we call COVID, we isolated ourselves, and so many people are still stuck in that same model, working from home and realizing life can be a lot easier if I can work in my pajamas or whatever. But getting out there is so critical for longevity. For those of you, I know most of the people who listen to the show, they're like, hey, I want to live longer. Well, I can tell you what Kimmy's sharing could actually be one of the most important, if not the most important thing when it comes to your health. As long as you've got like your diet, your nutrition, and your exercise sorted out, like this is it. The relationships are key. And so let's talk about your definition of charisma. And then I want to just kind of, maybe you could do an assessment and just kind of tell people what to look for and how to have more charisma and what not to do.
Oh, definitely. And I definitely have stories, and sometimes you can relate to, a story that people have gone through. Well, the reason why I coined the term charisma quotient, and I love the word charisma, is because, well, a couple of reasons. First of all, it's just this magnetism, right? It's an energy that draws people to you. And research shows that people are not born with charisma, which is interesting to me, which means I can teach it. And I've taught it from every age. It doesn't discriminate with age, ethnicity, right? I've taught an 85-year-old woman to pick up a man at a bar. I kid you not, after doing a makeover, all the way down to like, people in their 20s trying to learn social skills because they're on their phones all day long. So it's, the charisma part, that energy part, is also something that is attractive. So again, you can be the best person you are, the best version. You've gone to therapy, you've done all this work. Yet, if you don't have that charismatic energy, the attraction factor goes down. And at the end of the day, the whole reason why people want to move on with each other, like whether it's romantically or business or any relationship really, is because you like them. So it's not even about the facts or all the knowledge that you have and being the smartest person in the room. It's whether or not you like that person, because all the other stuff can come later. Like if you really think about it. So to me, charisma is directly tied into the likability factor, which is the attraction factor. So again, like once you like dial that in and let go of all the stuff in your head. I work with a lot of high achievers. I'm not going to lie. Who are in our circle, like that, yes. Right? And high achievers are often outcome oriented, right? And they're thinking about what's next. But really, charisma, flirting is not about that. I love flirting, and I know like this could be a whole other podcast, right? And obviously, I do flirt workshops and everything. It's a big part of my business.
Yeah, really?
Never heard of a
flirt workshop. How interesting.
Yes, it is, because it's something that is very like daunting to a lot of people. There's an association with that word that kind of raises a lot of hairs and eyebrows. Yet, when you look at the definition of flirting, it's fascinating. This is what the dictionary defines it as.
Okay.
You behave as though you are attracted to someone without the serious intention of an outcome, which is so like, think about that.
Awesome.
That's why a lot of people don't flirt, because they're thinking about what's next. But really flirtiness, charisma, it's all about just being playful and having fun and being in the moment, not worrying about what's happening next. So it's a big thing that I like to teach is being present, because that's when you connect with people, being playful, having fun. Like I do these dating retreats and we're goofy, like we're fun. Like I make them go out and scavenger hunts with like cat ears on and costumes and interacting with the world, because it's that kid-like energy, again, that's so attractive, that really breaks barriers, in my opinion. So all that to say, that's why I just find charisma, flirting, just an important piece of the beginning phases of helping people break down barriers to find love. Wow. But yeah, like when I go through the charisma quotient, there's 3 pillars that I look at, and we can break it down, as you said. But the first one is your style intelligence. And obviously, I made that up to go with the other ones, but that's where I start. It's the outside. It's your first impressions. It's your wardrobe. It's your sex appeal. It's your body language. It's all the nonverbal signals that you're sending out to the world, because that's 93% of communication. So everyone's like so tripped up on what to say. Yeah. It's not even important as how you present in that first moments. And so that's, again, once people like feel good about themselves, they're moving through the world differently. And so then I work on the second pillar, which is emotional intelligence, which we all have heard of and know, and it's very popular. But I teach it in a way of expression and how like we're able to be vulnerable with one another, how we use emotions and feelings to connect with each other, setting boundaries. All of that is really important. And then the third piece is your social intelligence, which is the flirting, interpersonal communication, your social comfort and skills. And so like I assess each of those, 3 pillars, if you will, of the charisma quotient to again see, well, what is it that we can work on? And I like starting small. Like if you can't make eye contact with someone, well, let's just work on for 2 weeks, making eye contact with people when you're out and about. I just like to simplify it. Right.
Yep.
So that's some of the, I don't know if you have questions around that, but that's kind of the overall feeling of it.
it almost seems like this should be taught in school, just like, learning how to balance a checkbook, like some basic financial skills, like relationship skills. And our kids have all these devices pulling them away from knowing how to create relationships. And it's an easy way out. And it's amazing. So eye contact, I remember working with our kids. Okay, make
Yeah.
eye contact when you talk, shake somebody's hand. Okay, now ask a question. And, there's just like a sequential process of building relationships that seems to be a lost art. So what's some of oh, go ahead. You're going to say
No,
something.
no, I would just to mention that, like, and on top of it, imagine like if just socially, it's hard for you to do some of those things. And now on top of it, you throw in the expectation or the stigma of attraction and dating. So now you have like two things that you're anxious about, right? First of all, just knowing the skill. Second of all, now there's like this attachment of, rejection or, what if I don't do it right? Because there's this like thing about dating that gets in the way sometimes. So that's why I like to just focus on skills more
Mm.
than anything else. I mean, I think dating is a skill. Like if you really break these down, just so that people know that there's hope, it's not like, oh, I don't know how to do this. It's like, well, either you never learned it because you just had one or two relationships in your life, right? You never learned the art of dating and flirting, or you've had maybe negative exposure to it. Maybe, you have been rejected a lot or things didn't work out, so you're shut down. So whatever the reason is, it's just taking a look at that and overcoming it by just breaking habits. That's all it is.
So, a lot of our listeners are in, committed relationships, married or otherwise. What are some ways, like, me, for example, my wife and I, we've been together 14 years. She's amazing. And she is one that I was like, you and her would get along great because she always looks at like different ladies and she's like, man, she's got the best body, but she's wearing like the worst clothes. Like she looks like an
Yes.
old lady and she could look like a supermodel, and that happens so frequently. But what are some ways that I could flirt with my wife in where there's not the outcome, the second step. And
Right.
I think that's probably where a lot of women in relationships are like, oh, here we go again. It's, he's horny or whatever. But I find that the flirtation is like really fun for me. And like yesterday, for example, I was like sending her texts and I had a friend that was staying with us and I hadn't seen her in like 2 days. I'm like, man, I missed you and thanks so much for being all these cool things. And it just felt really good. I could tell it just opened up her heart. But what are some pieces of advice you could give dudes specifically who have been in relationships over a decade?
Yeah, I love this question. I've actually done some talks on dating your partner again, because I think a lot of times when you're in relationships, you get, let's face it, a little lazy, a little complacent. You kind of forget what you were attracted to in the beginning. And that's really the first thing is, where are things right now in your relationship? Are you doing new things, fun things? Are you dressing up? Are you going on dates? Are you touching each other? Like all the things that really like attracted you in those beginning phases. And by the way, this advice applies to both singles and, people who are in relationships because what works in the beginning works all the time. Just a lot of times we, again, get lazy, we forget, and we take it for granted almost. And so, one of the first things is I always recommend date nights. If you have, a busy schedule and you have kids, just really holding each other to a separate sacred night, day, something where you're, having that time. And when you go on dates, dress up. Like,
Mm,
what turns you on with each other? Like, don't show up in your regular sweats, and slippers that you're always seeing each other in.
Lululemon.
Yeah, the Lululemons can be totally cute. I'm
They
not gonna
can, but
lie. Yeah,
whatever those spandex pants are called, they're a little
yeah.
overplayed.
Yeah, like, and you and I were talking off air. I love manovers because, you men just like you want to please, you just forget sometimes what that is all about. So yeah, like dress for your lady, get a nice new button down shirt, or even go shopping with her. Like that's super sexy and
Yes.
fun. Even just having a shopping spree and knowing what turns your woman on is huge, and just have like a whole day of it. I also think novelty is key, doing things that are different from outside the norm. Go to a different restaurant, take a staycation, have a picnic on the ground with candles, because that adrenaline kind of hormone that gets released when you're doing something exciting and new definitely folds into the romantic feelings towards one another. And then the final tip I would say is body language. I think, again, looking at both people who are single and in relationships, we forget how powerful body language is. It's the
Mm,
soft touch, it's the look that you have in your eyes. Sometimes it's just the silence and really holding, space for each other. Even on dates, I was talking about that at my women at the retreat, because they were saying a lot of women have a hard time with silence. They would like to use words to fill in the space. I said, what if you didn't? What if you
wow.
just looked at the guy when there was nothing to say, and just be totally confident and okay with that? Because I
Mm,
think women sometimes just talk, 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 and then, it loses that sexiness, that appeal. So definitely think about those things. Dress the part, keep in mind your body language, and novelty is key.
man, that's great. And just having the intention and the thought around date night with your lady. Yeah, I've noticed it goes a long ways, and you're right. The stuff that worked in the beginning, the same flirtations that I used when we were first dating, it works even better now. Like, I mean, it's just like it gets better and better. It's like it's really cool, and yeah, we love the cards with questions on them,
Oh, yes, the
and
intimacy cards. Yeah.
yeah, because we can just like then it doesn't feel like there's an agenda. Like, why are you asking me what the hardest thing was in my childhood? I didn't ask, the card did, but I am interested in learning about her entire life. And we've been doing that for the last couple of months, and my sleep scores have never been worse. But my connection with my wife has been just really amplified through that little process, little ritual we try to do as many nights as possible.
Oh, that is beautiful. And again, like you were saying too, like there's nothing like a connection with a human, and whether that's romantically, relationship, like we are social beings. And I know what, like with what you teach, the combination of having love, having connection, community, all of that along with your health, that is what, like, is life's all about, really, right? That's the
Yeah.
happiness factor. That's what makes us, live longer too, as you mentioned. So yeah, I remember, I'd love to share a story that kind of
Oh
highlights
yeah.
all of the stuff that we were talking about. This is probably one of the most profound cases, but I love sharing it, especially with what you do. A woman called me up, and she hadn't been dating. Oh my God, I think it was like 25 years she'd been single. She's divorced. She came from a narcissistic relationship. And she's like, Kimmy, I'm just in a rabbit hole. Like it's been so long. I don't even know where to start. I'm not even sure I want to find love again. I
Mm,
just know that I'm not happy. I'm just working all the time. My kids are gone, and I have nothing except work. And so anyway, she hired me, and we did a combination of like an in-person, and also she came to my retreats. And at the time, I didn't really know like everything until she got here. And she was definitely overweight. She had sleep issues, the stuff that you help people with. And but more importantly, as we were talking, I realized how much she was giving her power away. Like she would apologize for things. And I'm like, why are you apologizing? There's nothing you should be apologizing for. So setting boundaries, being too nice, like all of this stuff was really what attracted her to this like narcissist too. So there's a lot that we had to take care of. But the first thing, like I always say, I wanted to start on the outside because she wasn't happy with her her body image, I should say. And her wardrobe was pretty much like non-existent. Like she just had like a bunch of work clothes, and it was not flattering. So anyway, we are about to go into this department store, and she stops and she looks at the doors, and she just starts bawling. Like,
mm,
what's up? She's like, well, there's something I haven't told you. I said, what's that? She's like, I have covered my mirrors in my home for the last 15 years and I haven't looked at myself. And
Well,
yeah, and it was like, it was
oh,
profound. And I said, I'm so happy you told me that. And let's just go through the store. I'm going to hold your hand the entire time. And again, like if I was just a traditional therapist sitting down and doing cognitive therapy or just like, oh, like you're beautiful, don't worry. That wasn't what she needed. She needed evidence. She needed action. So
mm,
in the store, I gave her this leather jacket and I had her put on these like really cool boots. I said, look, I just want you to turn around, look in the mirror and just give me 5 seconds. That's all. And then you can turn back around.
15 years she hadn't looked in the mirror.
15 years.
That's just so hard to imagine. Okay, so how did she take it?
Yeah. And so she's like, okay. So she puts her costume on and she twirls around and she looks in the mirror and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it just kept going on. And then tears started going down her face again, but this time it was tears of joy. And she said, Kimmy, I've never seen myself look so beautiful. And then I started crying, like we were hugging each other.
Man.
It was like this aha moment. And from there, I think I created a monster. Then she not only like we were skipping through the store, collecting things, she was dressing with the door open. I mean, this is a woman who had so much body shape. We did a photo shoot. She like got all glammed up. We had amazing pictures and she put herself
Wow.
online and dated up a storm and she found the love of her life eventually. So I tell that story because you see it's just like those small shifts that can add up to the bigger win and just knowing that that can build your, confidence because at the end of the day, it's not about the man, it's not about the woman, it's about you. And when
Mm.
you look in the mirror and you say, I'm sexy, I'm worthy, that's when all the magic happens.
Because what would her life be like if she never actually met you and never had the transformation?
Yeah. And again, like I always say it takes a village. I think there's so many people who come into our lives that gives us messages, that gives us hope. However, I think what she needed so badly was that action piece. Again, like she didn't need any more talking.
Yeah.
She needed that evidence to help her move forward. So no, I was so happy that she did. Just that's why I love just working with again like people in person. I know not everybody can and I have a lot of like virtual stuff. I even do virtual makeovers, by the way.
Oh, nice.
It's really it's awesome. But it's that kind of high touch that creates change in such a short amount of time as well. Because there's stuff you just can't see, so really like feeling the experience and doing it in action is what I think gets the results faster as well.
So with the men that you work with on style,
Yeah.
because most of the people listening are going to be men. What are some like ways that you work with men? Because I don't think we're going to be looking in the mirror and crying. Maybe don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but we look in the mirror and I always like jokingly say like, dudes, we always think we're better looking than we are. Women, you always see the flaws and you don't see how gorgeous you are. So, but how do you work with men in this way?
Yeah, I just actually had a two manovers recently, so they're fresh in my
Man over.
manovers, as I call them. And you and I were talking offline. Really, what I love about you men is that you're all about what's effective and what's efficient. And so, as long as the clothes that you wear are effective with women or effective in whatever it is that you want to do, and it feels good and it's efficient. Like if you like something, give me 5 of them, you're good to go.
Mhm.
Then yeah, it's good. The guy that I just worked with, I mean, he was just a doll. The swagger that came from his body language after putting on like this really cool leather jacket, or just pants that really fit him. But because again, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, when you wear something, and there's a lot of research on this, when you wear something that makes you feel good, you carry yourself a different way. You just do. Like, and again, you have different. So I really don't have, a difference in the way that I treat men and women when I'm working with them, because everyone also, as a therapist, has a different story. They have different blocks and fears. So it's just, again, figuring out what they want and what's stopping them. But again, I always work on the outside. Like this other guy, he is this badass guy and he's an engineer in NASA, and he just has no dating experience, but he also had no swagger whatsoever and no wardrobe on top of it. So I'm like, look, you're a fantastic guy, but a woman's not going to give you kind of any, notice if we don't take care of A, your wardrobe, and B, your body language. And also he needed to cut his fingernails, and that's a whole other story. But like these are things that like
A little hygiene, dudes.
a
Come
little
on.
hygiene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we don't ask for much, trim the nose hairs, have your breath smell good. I had one guy, his teeth were so yellow. Nobody told him. Like I got him clothes and he looked great, but then his teeth were so yellow that it was a turnoff. And I like, that's my job. And
How did you address that, Kimmy? Were you like, one other thing we got to fix? I mean,
totally. Yeah. But no, I'm really honest. I mean, I said, look, you look great now. I love, your clothes, your body language is starting to improve because you're moving differently. And we, obviously like I work with people on body language. Like there's certain signals and things that you do with your body that signifies attraction. And this is research based as well. And that's individual too, because there's some people who have bad posture or whatever. So after we did that, I mean, I said, there's also something we need to address. I said, it's your teeth.
wow.
Has anyone told you that your teeth are yellow? And that could be something that's turning women off. I mean, I was just totally honest. He's like, you know what? He thanked me. He's like, no, thank you so much. I didn't realize that it was bad. Like, what do I do about it? He just wanted to know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And we fixed it. It was fine.
That's crazy. So, and I would imagine even men in their 70s, 80s, like it's not like it goes away. And I think that's what a lot of us think when we're younger. We're like, oh, when we're 40, like it's, we don't really care how we look. But what I find is I mean, one of my favorite patients lived to be 93, and she always was like, all right, I want to lose 20 more pounds, and she looks like she got stronger, her body composition changed, but it doesn't seem to go away. The way that we look, and even the dentist Charles Euster, who's written books on longevity, he attributed his longevity to vanity. He said, I got into bodybuilding because I wanted to turn the eyes of, there's some sexy 70-year-olds that I wanted to have look at me. But do you find that it leaves ever?
No, it doesn't. However, I do think that people lose confidence as they get older and that they can be sexy. So that's something that I really have a lot of kind of talks with people on, and realizing that like when you put on a certain, style or outfit, the goal isn't to look age inappropriate, right? Like it's not about that, but it's to be youthful. Like, you work on people looking youthful. Everybody, no matter what age group you're at, everybody should want to look youthful and feel youthful as well. And so, we all have different body types, whether you're a man or a woman. And women have 5 body types. Men have 3, and this relates to the free gift that I have at the end. So you can kind of measure yourself and determine that. I'm very scientific in the way I approach clothes. But once you know your body type, then you know kind of what cuts flatter your figure, what clothes to stay away from, what enhances, certain features, that kind of thing. Because again, that'll build your body confidence. And I think something that a lot of men are guilty of is that they just, especially if you've lost weight, and I know you help people with that too, they don't see their new bodies. So they're dressing in their old clothes, and they're even carrying themselves as the fatter person. And so even like the way that they walk, the way that their posture is, I mean, it's amazing to me, when I've done, these makeovers, and I'll show like how much fabric is like I can hold in my hand. And
Wow, isn't it?
yeah. And I'm like, do you realize how big? Oh, I didn't realize how big these were. There was a guy in Denver that I did, and he's like, no, I think I got rid of most of that big stuff. And And when I landed, I said, well, how will I know who you are? He's like, oh, I'm the guy in the Hawaiian shirt. So once he said that, I'm like, oh my God, I have my work cut out for. So that I found not only did he not get rid of everything, but there was not one thing in his closet that fit him. So I left him one outfit to shop in. Like we literally had to get rid of everything.
Oh,
Like I
cool.
just didn't realize like how, and then once he put on the fitted clothes, at first it's a little bit of a shock actually to a lot of people. They're like,
Mm.
oh, I'm not used to things so tight. But then as they marinate, right, as they walk through the store, they're like, oh yeah, this kind of looks good. It's not as weird as I thought, you know? So there's a process that you go through with your body just getting used to it.
Man. Well, I mean, this is fascinating. And I think for everyone out there who just you want to level up your game, but more importantly, it's like life is an exploration. And I think what you've done, Kimmy, is you've departed from the conventional world of therapy and you've actually become a healer in so many different ways because you give people access to themselves in ways that I frankly don't know of anyone else doing it the way you do. And so I appreciate the gifts that you brought to our community today. It's just
Mm.
just in so many ways it's like one of the best gifts you can give. And the fact that you are, speaking of gifts, those of you who want to engage with Kimmy, you can go to kimmyseltzer.com. But the big thing you've done is you can actually people can take a style assessment, the scientific measurements of what clothes look best on you. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to offer, as we're talking about like style and just something that's actionable, is just figuring out what body type you are. Like I said, I have
Mm.
a body style guide for women, and there are 5 body types. And it's literally just measuring yourself and seeing in the guide what body type you are. And then it goes over what clothes fit you and flatter you and what clothes and cuts to stay away from. So super just easy. That it's a great way to get started. And obviously, like if you want more help, you can contact me. And for guys, I have a fashion manifesto for men. Because, men don't sit around normally on a Sunday afternoon and talk about like the latest sales and fashion styles and that kind of thing. And so there's a little more to that manifesto, if you will. With men, there are about 3 body types, and it's more about other things that go into like grooming and hygiene and keeping in mind your build and accessories and whatnot. And what's fun about this stuff too is that it will build your body confidence overall and realizing what also is sexy for you because it's
Mm.
one thing to put on an outfit that fits, it's another thing to feel sexy in it. And again, whether you're married, coupled off, or single, you should always look and feel sexy.
Man, I love that. Well, what a gift. And thanks so much, Kimmy. And appreciate all your wisdom today and all the work that you've done, on yourself in this journey, but also with others. And so I would definitely, for those of you who love the show, make sure you check out Kimmy's website and we'll leave the links in the show notes. Kimmy, any final words of wisdom before we depart?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me. This was super fun. I know you and I have been trying to do this forever, and I'm glad there's always a reason why we do it now. But again, I think I said in the beginning, about taking those small action steps that add up to the bigger success, the bigger win. I define confidence as experience. So it's not that you're not confident. I don't believe in that. It's just that you might not have had the experience, whether it's dating or flirting or being social, or you've had
Mhm.
negative exposure. So how do you get that? It's literally just taking action. Maybe it's counting how many blue eyes you can look into at the store. Really start small because again, that will add up, to just feeling good overall and building your confidence and charisma. And I'm excited to have you on the Charisma Quotient.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out that show too. I'll be on Kimmy's show, and I love the way you make it a skill. So just think anyone can learn skills and it just
Yes.
takes a little bit of time. It has no bearing on your personality, who you are. It's just a skill set. And so thanks for breaking it down. And for those of you who love the show, make sure you share it with your friends, family, loved ones, leave us a cool review, and we will see you next time. Kimmy, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.